Today we have, I think, maximum 5% who have less than 14 tits. Hello, my name is Ulrik I'm the owner of Solvang Genetics, a breeding farm in the Danish genetic system. The typical number of the tits of the sows here in the farm is 14 and above. We have about 70% with 14 tits. Then we have about 20% with 15 tits, and the last 10% is 16 and above. When we select the sow for breeding, we always look at the tits. The tits have to be 14 or above. After that, we look at the standing and the exterior of the sow, how she is on the legs, how she look in the average. And of course also index, because we are a breeding farm, so we need to have that in mind. But the tits is of course important, and we look a lot how many tits it have. The correlation between the tits of the sow and the health of the litter is of course important, but it's not. It's more about how much milk she can produce. A sow with 17 tits can produce less milk than a sow with 14 tits. That's not say that it's always like this, but we always look about functional tits and how many, and of course always above 14 tits. What we do if a sow gives more live borns than she has tits is that we make a nursing sow for the piglets who are extra of the tits. We normally put one extra piglets of the tits of the number of the tits of the sow. So if the sow have 15, we put 16 piglets. If they are small, the piglets, we put maybe 2 or 3 extra to make sure that the small piglets can make enough milk from the sow. We never faced the issue of number of the tits, but because we always check before we inseminate the sow if they have enough tits. But sometimes when they give birth, we will have blind tits. We cannot see that before they have give birth. What we do is with the blind, if they have a sow have a blind tits, we of course adjust the piglets for the sow. And after we will remove the sow, so it will not produce any more pigs for the next generations. The number of tits always is in mind when you buy semen from the boars. In the Danish genetic system, we have only boars with 14 and more tits. Because we are a breeding station, we have to look more and more about the index and the families before the tits. But we know that all boars on the AI station have 14 tits. Of course, the Yorkshire and the Landrace have 14 and more tits. The Duroc we don't count the tits on because they are not used to. They are only used as the boar for the finishing production. 6-7 years ago, we had a high amounts with less than 14 tits. In this farm we had probably about 25% or more with less than 14 tits. But after we started Danish genetic, and there was a lot more focus on the tits, and today we have I think maximum 5% who have less than 14 tits. We don't sell breeding pigs with less than 14 tits. We count the tits when they are born, and all who was born with less than 14 tits is put out of the selling program, so they are not for sale. The number of tits of the sows is pure genetic, and we breed after as many tits as possible. But to keep the tits functional, we use a lot of help from especially the veterinarian, how to keep the tits functional. Yeah, often we have Often we see that the sows can take care of a lot more piglets than the number of tits it have. We had one sow with 17 tits who actually weaned 22 piglets. Of course, the tits have a big impact. The more tits the sow have, the more weaned piglets also come out. For us, it's really important that a sow can take care and wean as many piglets by itself as possible. And a good advice is it's of course always important to have a lot of tits, as many tits as possible, but also as many functional tits as possible. And it's a really good idea to make sure that you keep the functional tits through all the litters the sow must have in the life. I think a big misconception is that many think that the sow can only take care of as many piglets as she have tits. Often at our place, the sow can take care of 2-3 more piglets than she have tits. We have in Danish genetics the philosophy that we need as much output for as little input as possible. That means that the sow needs to wean a lot of piglets, and the piglets have to weigh a lot. So of course the tits will be in focus, and the increase of the number of tits will be in focus in Danish genetics, but also the amount of milk that the sow produces will of course also be in focus. Thank you so much for coming and visit us at Solvang.